Good morning, everyone. Today, I am here to present to you the Agilities Overview by the DeBruce Foundation. As we start today, I have put in a couple of one-pagers into the chat for you that we will be using throughout this presentation, and then they're great resources for after the presentation. And then they're also linked in this at the end of this presentation, and I will send you the full slide deck after I'm done in a follow-up email. So don't feel like you need to take a lot of notes because you'll have all of these resources at your fingertips by the close of business today. Let me go ahead and start the slideshow. So I have an interactive presentation for you at slido.com. So on your laptop or on your phone, please feel free to join this presentation at slido.com. And then there's the join code. For those of you who are watching this recording later, you won't be able to join this, but you can just kind of think about the questions as you proceed through this deck with me. And as if you can't join right away, as each question comes up, this website and this join code will pop up. So don't feel like you need to keep up with me necessarily right now. I'll give you a couple of moments to join though. Okay, it's my pleasure to join you today. My name is Cindy Schleckebeer, and I'm the Integration Specialist at the DeBruce Foundation. And I feel like today I'm really with my people because I am a former educator as well. I spent 17 years in the classroom as an entrepreneur teacher, integrating the agilities into my work the past about 4 years. And with me today is Natalie Zimmerman. She's a research and training consultant for the foundation. The training goals for today: by the end of the session, you will become aware of your ranked agilities by taking the Agile Work Profiler. You're going to recognize the value of integrating agilities into your work. You're going to understand that with the right experiences, agilities may be grown and developed over time. And then finally, you're going to discover the value proposition of the Agile Work Profiler that it has to offer to participants that you serve. So the first question that we have in the Slido is, how many jobs have you held since you were 18 years old? Just think about that. You personally. And then what I want you to think about is to predict the number of jobs the average person has. So at first you were thinking about yourself, and now let's think about the average person between the ages of 18 to 50 years old. How many jobs do you think they're going to have? And I've got this Slido coming up that you can predict. And so on this deck, it looks like we have answers coming in all sorts of ranges here. But it's really around not 8 to 10, 12, 15. Okay, so 12 jobs is the answer. And this is one of the reasons why our work that we do at the foundation and that you are doing with the people that you serve is so vitally important. So the DeBruce Foundation is a national foundation whose mission is to expand pathways to economic growth and opportunity. To accomplish our mission, we strategically invest in research, tools, and resources to help people learn more about what they like to do, who they are, and what they're good at doing. Specifically helping people know that they have skills and that those skills have value in the world of work. This is all known as the Agilities Framework. And that's what we're here to talk about today. So what are agilities? Agilities are a group of 10 work activities that are found in different amounts in every single job. And here's an image of all of the different agilities of work. And you can see that they're really common words that you can associate with. So developing others, innovating, inspecting, selling and communicating, organizing. So they're common words that you and your students will really be able to resonate with. That leveraging your agilities one pager that I put in the chat has some verbs that link to them that you can really gravitate towards, and they help students resonate and identify really quickly with the agilities, and I guess really help them understand the underlying meaning of each of the agilities. So the way that you figure out, or the Agile Work Profiler figures out the top in the ranking of your agilities, is what you're really good at and what you like to do. And the thing is about this assessment is, and I mentioned this earlier, is any of these agilities can be grown and developed over time. So for instance, my lowest agility is operating objects and judging and estimating. So I know in my mind that those are ones that I need to grow and develop and put myself into experiences where I can challenge myself to really expand my mindset and expand my thinking to really grow and develop those agilities so I become more agile in the workforce. So the way you find your today ranked agilities, which we'll do later on in the training, is you take the Agile Work Profiler. It's a 10 to 15 minute online assessment. I think depending on your age of the people you're serving, freshmen take a little bit longer, obviously, than a senior would take. And it's research-based and tested. We analyzed occupations with the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics data, and we looked at over 900 occupations. And as I mentioned earlier, it turns out that all jobs use these 10 work activities, which we have labeled as agilities. So when I was teaching, I realized that I had to teach my students what it meant to be agile right now. And the cool thing about this is I had to come up with a scenario that they would resonate with them. And so I would often use like how to study for an exam. And then we would talk about how each one of these agilities would help them be successful in studying for an exam. So you all have probably had that student who has used selling and communicating to get you to use a note card or their notes on a test, or maybe even try to get you to postpone that test. So that's all using persuasion and selling and communicating. If you have that student that organizes that study group and tries to get all their friends together, that would be developing others because they're mentoring and they're trying to teach and coach. So if you just take a look at all of these, once I send you the slide deck, you'll really see how each and every one of these agilities of work can solve a scenario. The value of agilities and how they can elevate you or your students. So they translate skills into work language. So skills in the classroom, skills when you're working on a project. You can get your students to have that agility culture, and they can transfer what they're doing in your classroom or in an after-school program into real work language, and they can just sound a lot more polished and professional. They can frame those experiences and skills into activities and experiences on a resume. And then they could also then take those experiences and activities and speak better to them in an interview. Then they can see skills and experiences and then transfer those skills to different environments that they're in. And so that will help elevate them when they go outside of your classroom or outside of those extracurricular activities. When you're not that guide on the side with them, you are really preparing them for the next step of their life, and taking those agilities with them will just help elevate them and help them succeed. All of this will help them be more confident doing a job or networking with other people once they leave your program. And then finally, it really helps them develop skills to prepare them for their future that they really want and desire. So the impact of the Agilities Framework, I'd like to talk to you first a little bit. I've got a couple of quotes from our DeBruce Career Corps members that I wanted to share with you about the impact the Agilities Framework had on them. But I want to give you a little bit of framing about what the DeBruce Career Corps is. So it's a unique experience, a leadership opportunity really for students from high school to college ages to partner with the foundation to help us fulfill its mission to expand career pathways. And so this is a quote from Annika. Annika says, knowing my agilities is a confidence booster. Many people underestimate skills they have. It is a great way to show yourself what you're good at, maybe encourage you to try new fields you haven't even thought about before. And then Sydney says, the AWP helped me pinpoint what I'm good at. It's totally me. It's helpful to know my bottom strength to see what I need to work on. So I'm an assessment junkie. I have taken lots of different ones, and even in my classroom, I've integrated lots of different assessments within my 17 years of teaching. So here, whoops, I'm so sorry. Here are some different common assessments that you might have seen along your way as well. It talks about, this slide is important because it talks about the measurements and then the goals of those assessments. A lot of these assessments focus on personalities, whereas the Agile Work Profiler talks about work skills, work activities, not about personalities. And then remember, you can grow and develop them as you go through life. And the goal with the Agile Work Profiler is to expand career pathways. We're not a matching tool. So within the Indiana Career Explorer, as you all know, there's 3 assessments that your stakeholders in Indiana will have the opportunity to partake in. So I've listed them here, and I have the same kind of slide, the measurements and the goals. So let's go over those. So the Agile Work Profiler, as I've mentioned before, is your strengths and your interests in doing actual work activities, and the goal is to expand your career pathways. The Career Interest Explorer is which career matches your interest, and the goal is to match your interest to industries and occupations. And then the Work Values Matcher talks about what you value in the workplace and then helps you rank them in order of importance to you. And then it really helps you, the goal of it is to really help you I guess, ideate what your ideal work environment really looks like. So on this slide, what I did is I personally took all 3 of these assessments, and then I kind of tried as an integration specialist at the DeBruce Foundation. I'm not trained on the other 2, I'm trained on the Agile Work Profiler, but I try to really think and put myself in your shoes as educators on how I could really integrate all 3 of them with fidelity. So let's take a look at my results and how you can see some crossover in some of the results. So the Agile Work Profiler, this is what the assessment asks. So how much do I enjoy blank, and how good am I at blank? Okay, so it says the same thing with both question stem. The Career Interest Explorer asks me, how do I feel about blank? And then the Work Values Matcher has about 20 statements about my ideal job. And then it's kind of like a drag and drop, and I put them into this grid, and I can move them around as I go and make changes about my work environment. So these are my current agilities that I took just the other day. So developing others is my top, then innovating and organizing. And you can see I mentioned earlier, these are my bottom ones. What I can tell you for sure about the Agile Work Profiler is my top 3 agilities, and then my 4, 5, and 6, and really 7. My top 3 rotate almost every time I take it. And then these ones in the middle really rotate a lot when I take them. Those 2 sets really rotate based on who I'm working with and what I'm really hyper focused on at that time as far as with my work. So lots of times managing is sometimes my 4th. So I just want you to be aware of that these are just your today ranked agilities and that they can really shift and move around. It's not stagnant at all. So they can really shift it and play around with the ranking based off of your experiences. I recommend having your stakeholders take the AWP at key intervals of their life, and we'll talk about that in a little while. The results from the Career Interest Explorer, you can see it, like I told you on the previous slide, it recommends industries for me. So my 3 industries were law, public safety, corrections, and security, which I never really considered in my span of, being in, going back to school and getting several degrees or even looking for jobs. So that one was kind of shocking to me, but these bottom 2 are right on target. They totally make sense. They even are what I do right now in my job. So those 2 totally make sense. And then I just put a little bucket of careers because there were so many options that it matched me with. So I just listed a few for you. Then the results for the 6 core work values, these are the 6 core values, okay? But this is my actual ranking. So I really value achievement, and I don't really need a whole lot of support or recognition. I do value independence. Oops, I'm so sorry. I do value independence a lot. So as you can see, it makes sense with my top agilities that like developing others and innovating. Do you see how those would really go with those industries? And then I think you can just have conversations about these work values and what you really, how you really like to work. I think those are just really valuable conversations to get students to think about, even in their space of being a student. I think that you could have valuable conversations about that. So let's move on and talk specifically about the advantages of the Agile Work Profiler. And I've talked about a few of them, but we'll just kind of spiral and repeat a little bit so you really understand. So the Agile Work Profiler was developed in 2018 and based on 900 plus current occupations, and it's on actual work activities, and those jobs are evergreen. The other assessments are based off of expectations of jobs, and a lot of the ones that were 2 slides ago, like the Myers-Briggs, Clifton Strengths, those were, they're dated. So they were built off of research in the 1920s and then revised in the 40s and 60s. The AWP is a life cycle model, so taken in key transition times. So like when I was a teacher, we took them at the beginning of the year, at Christmas break, and then at the end of the year. Sometimes we took them at key, like big project times, if that makes sense. You can decide what's best for your kids because you know them best. The other assessments are generally a one-time assessment because they're not about work activities, they're about personality. So that leads me to this one. They're about work activities, and the other ones are about personality. The AWP is about expanding career pathways, and the other assessments are more focused on matching to a limited number of careers. And the AWP is less time to administer, and the other ones are more time consuming to administer. So some key points that I really want to drive home with you is the AWP gives you your ranked agilities as of today. You become more agile when you develop all agilities, and therefore you're more flexible in the work environment. So you need to have that growth mindset. That's really part of the Agilities Framework, is having that growth mindset. With the right experience, agilities may be grown over time. So we're going to move on to becoming aware of your agilities, affirming your agilities, and then figuring out how you can activate these agilities after you take the AWP and figure out what your today results are. So what do you predict is your top agility? So you can make a guess. You can look at that leveraging your agilities one-pager again. And so let's look on this Slido at the results here. It looks like we have a lot of developing others, some serving and caring, some organizing, selling and communicating, a little bit of judging and estimating in our predictions. So now is a time that you can take the AWP for yourself. So you can log into the Indiana Career Explorer and go to the assessment tab and take the Agile Work Profiler. You will need to create a new account because it's a brand new Indiana Career Explorer, and create that new account to take the assessment. I'm going to pause this for about 20 minutes because you have to create your profiler maybe, or profile it within the Indiana Career Explorer, and then give you time to really take the assessment and then look at your results. Okay, what was your reaction to your results? Okay, I see that a lot of you are not surprised at all. Some of you, okay, surprised about your number one. Okay, that's interesting. It fits me, it sounds good. Okay, so most of you weren't surprised. What was your top agility? It looks like developing others, organizing were our top. Okay, let's move on to affirming your agilities now that you are aware of them. So these are pictures of the two one-pagers that I have linked in the chat, and then they're also linked on one of the last slides of this presentation that we'll get to. So you can watch the individual agilities with your participants and discuss. So those agilities, those individual videos are found in your results. You can click on those, and then within the Indiana Career Explorer, you can go back to your results and find those videos whenever you need to access them again with your students. You can talk about what resonates with them, what surprised them about the videos on a scale of 1 to 5. How do they feel about that agility? And are there jobs featured in that video that they hadn't considered? Because again, the whole point of this is to expand their pathways and help them think about maybe occupations that they didn't think about before using these tools. So they might not just want to watch the videos about their top agilities, they might want to explore around and hop around. Focus on the top agilities or those that they're interested in, and then share these agility one-pagers. This slide just has those videos for your reference if you don't want to have to go back in, because I know sometimes that takes time to have your whole class or your whole group go into the Indiana Career Explorer and find other results and all this. This you can just pop up, and then it's a quick, all the videos are linked to each agility. So that's just a teacher slide for you to have access to. So then on agilities.org, which is where a lot of our resources are housed, you can also go to explore agilities, and then on each individual agility page, there is that video that you see in your results. But then if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you see individual career videos that are the government provided videos that we got that feature that agility as one of their top 3. So those are another way that you can expand career pathways for the individuals that you're working with. And each of these videos are like 90 seconds long, okay? The other, oh no. Just happened. I'm so sorry. Goodness. Oh, I started playing a video. Sorry. These videos are 90 seconds long, and these videos, I'm so sorry about that. These videos over here, the career videos from the government, they are 2 to 3 minutes long. My mouse is doing crazy things, y'all. Okay, activating your agilities. The key thing, and you guys know this because you're great educators, is making it relevant. Creating a career statement. So as your students go out and network, creating an elevator pitch and introducing themselves in 30 seconds using agility language is a great idea. And then, as I mentioned before, using these words and phrases and these verbs on the leveraging your agilities one-pager on their resumes and in interviews is a great way to elevate themselves. And then call out agilities in action. So in your classroom or in after-school programming, talk about agilities that are being used in projects or in activities in order to make that activity or project be successful. Or if you fail, what agility would have helped you be more successful? As a classroom teacher, I had these one-pagers, and in the follow-up email, I will also send you an agilities poster to hang up in your classroom. I just hung everything everywhere, and then I just used this language constantly with the students to really build that agility culture in the classroom. So as your students migrate into possibly post-secondary majors, this is the goal of the foundation of integrating agilities into that space. So students become aware of their agilities, and then staff introduces students to career tools and network resources. And then that student becomes more career literate, and then hopefully will be able to select that major or academic pathway. And then they would be able to graduate or get that certificate of completion. So here are those promised resources that I put in the chat. And then on these slides, I'm not going to go over them, but it's kind of like that end of chapter summary that you see. I have just the summary of the slide deck for you, just so you have some one-liners if you need to use those and have just an overview. This is all of our social. So please follow us on social media and stay in touch with us at the foundation. We truly appreciate everything you do as educators to help expand career pathways with the individuals that you serve. And I, as a former educator, appreciate you taking time out of your summer to come to this webinar. You guys are awesome, and thank you so much. Have a great day.